Trolls exist. I was telling Jason a couple podcasts ago. Trolls exist. They're out there.
And then immediately he started trolling me on a text a couple of days later. Did you see that?
He said that's his favorite thing to do.
He was like, I said, I shot this duck. I'm eating it for dinner. And he's like, nah, duck's too gamey. Yeah. I was like, you son of a bitch, you're doing it to me.
That's why you said that.
Yeah, that's why I said that because I saw what he was doing. Yeah, he was trolling. He was trolling the crap out of me. I had a whole text typed out, and I was like, "Listen, sir, you don't understand. The grass-fed and totally nutritious." And I was like, "Wait a minute, son of a bitch is messing with me right now.
He is trolling me."
Yeah, that was a beautiful bird.
It was pretty. It was pretty.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so today we're here talking. So you guys, everybody at this table has got a ton of experience in construction management, right? So. So we'll just go right there. So how many years you got? So
Talking to the mic.
I have been in this, it's 2020. I've been doing it for 25 years.
25 years. Jake is old.
I am old, all over the world, all over the country.
How long you been in this, Jason?
Jason's
over there.
Dennis, whatever your name is, who cares? It's the camera flips things. It flips things.
You know, it's funny is we've been knowing each other a very long time.
No, I've been in the industry since 2005. So
like
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
It's 2020.
Let's use a tape measure.
It took me a while. I was gonna. If I had some scratch paper.
it's close to the new year.
So I've been doing it for about 20 years. Jason's been doing it about, 20 years?
16
years. So we got a lot of experience. So the first thing I want to talk about is just kind of how the industry has changed from when we got into it. So we'll start with you, Jake, because you were in the Navy doing construction, so that's got to be completely different.
Hold on for a second. Your gun's blazing already.
I'm in it.
I love your intensity. We haven't disclaimed anything. We're not sure if
Do you want to do the disclaimer?
Well, I don't want to. I've been asking you to use one of our recordings that you have probably 40 of at this point.
Hey, so here's the thing. I'm sure Jake and Dennis listen to the podcast all the time. I'm sure they could probably tell us what our disclaimer is.
I can wing a disclaimer.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Because I can't.
I said I could wing it. It'd be completely wrong.
Let's hear it. It's usually wrong.
I mean, it's got to be better than.
And
It'll be way better than Damien's.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Views and expressions.
Views and opinions
Yes.
expressed on this podcast do not represent. That's all I got.
That's pretty close.
All right.
Thoughts
Should
and
not be
opinions
taken
of any previous or
seriously.
former
Yeah.
employees.
Bang. Pretty close. Close enough. It's good enough.
That's good.
It's good enough for the lawyers.
That actually is a disclaimer. So we're disclaimed. All right. What were we saying?
So I just want to talk about how the industry has changed from when we originally got into it to what we're looking at these days.
Okay.
Jake, so you were in the Navy. What was it like building stuff in the Navy?
Construction in the military is different than construction in the civilian world. The number one reason is because the military does not carry insurance. They're self-insured. So when you build things in the military, for the Seabees, especially in the Navy, it is right. It is plumb, it is square.
I was going to say you could do anything you wanted and nobody can.
No, you cannot. It has to be 100% right, and it's scrutinized by everyone because there's no insurance.
Who scrutinizes it?
Your chiefs in your command and local authorities and your clients. Just like in the civilian world, you still have clients. Anytime the bees deploy and build something, they're doing it for a client. So, we've worked for, or at least I worked for, all kinds of government agencies, the CIA, NASA, you name it. And they're always out there checking stuff. And I've seen the result.
You building spaceships? What are you doing for NASA?
Well, I mean, I actually worked on military bases, and I noticed the same thing. Like, I didn't work for the military, but they would audit everything that came in. You get a shipment of styrofoam to insulate a slab, and they're scanning it for bombs or something, I guess.
Conformity with the specs, because there's no insurance.
Scanning it for bombs.
I don't know, scanning it for something.
What were you building? Can you tell us?
It just any building, a structure. It was a.
It's pretty vague. Doghouse?
Sure. It was just another
military dog's got to have a place to live.
The military builds everything.
Site.
That's cool.
They build ball fields and they build, high-rise barracks. I mean, they build everything.
So when, not to get away from the CVs, I know it's awesome.
Well,
we're gonna move to Dennis. Because full disclosure, I've heard your CV stories. So what were you doing? Why were you working on a military base? Who are you working for?
I just worked for a concrete contractor, and we had a lot of government jobs, schools, infrastructure upgrades like water management plants. We had jobs on military bases. So
you were working for a trade contractor in concrete.
Mm-hmm. So they had the contract, and I was just working for that company.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and Jake, I know you built all over the world. I'm not going to bore our audience with that. Anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, if your audience wants to
so let's talk about something else.
Build amazing things, join the CB.
So how do you think it's different? Well, actually, we'll switch to you, because when you started in construction, you were an assistant construction manager.
Right. I mean, I didn't know anything, and I was thrown into the wolves.
So let me ask you guys a question. Go ahead.
So
talking to that
when
mic.
you get out of the service,
why don't you lean away from the mic so nobody can hear you?
When you're working, when doing construction in CBs, or I assume for the Army, just you're not doing it as well.
Oh yeah,
and then you get out into the civilian world, it's night and day. Because of and I'm telling you, it all goes back to insurance. So when I was on my first home build, the concrete guys came out and they put in the footings and they started to drag a 2x4 and called it a keyway. And I was all over those guys and I told them it was bullshit and they were ripping it out. And they need to nail the that 2x4 to the bottom of the whalers, and that's how they're going to get a perfect 2x4. And the guy looked at me, and I'm not kidding. The guy looked at me and said, "What's a whaler?" And I was like, "You're out of here. You're going to be fired." And, a couple weeks later, my boss came out, and I'm not going to tell you who I was working for at the time, but my boss came out and was like, hey, that's how we do it. You need to calm down. Like,
we just drag a stick along the top of the footer.
Drag a stick along the footer.
We take a penny and we run as fast as we can. Hope he gets in there.
And it's just not adequate. Yeah. So there was a huge difference, and it was a huge learning curve.
So that must have been a real culture shock.
Oh, totally.
Because
totally.
We're constantly striving for. There's no such thing as perfection, but we're always striving for better and better and better. So to sit there and to have somebody come out and say,
it's how we do it.
It's good enough.
Right.
That's got to be tough.
It was tough. It was hard. It's hard enough transitioning from military to civilian life, but when you, are an expert in a field and they come out and they're like, meh, it looks good. It's hard to sleep.
So the great thing about this particular podcast, vlog, whatever this thing is called, is we have a producer. What was that? Oh, he's texting. He's busy. He's very busy texting.
Well, he's probably texting somebody about.
What was that? What were you asking him to do?
A little bit closer to the mic, please.
Thank you. You guys got to pay attention to the producer.
He's doing research.
Jason and I have been begging for someone to come and help us. If the producer could not kick the camera, God, you're fired. Just kidding. You're not
just
fired.
kidding.
He knows how to fill a picture. We need him for this podcast at least.
So Jason and I have been begging for a producer. You guys got to pay attention to what this man is saying. And hopefully he won't kick the camera anymore.
Yeah.
I need a chart for his hand signals.
Right?
There's a lot of this.
Damien made up hand signals right before we started. So
Hand job.
They were
in case
all
anybody
saying no. He was like, this means you're too far away from the mic, and this means don't lean back.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway,
what were we? I don't even remember what we were talking about.
we were just talking about
We
construction.
were talking about the way the industry has changed.
Yeah. So
It used to be a lot of fun.
How did you adjust to dude?
I mean, you're
With
talking about
video
it used
evidence.
to be.
I don't want to get into how much fun it used to be, but
Listen,
it's still fun. It's still fun.
You used to have, in the commercial world, you used to have an advantage as a GC. You would bid a job, and you would be like, I think I can make 10, 15% on this job. After 2008, in the downturn, you were like, 3%? Shit. Probably not going to get it.
Right.
Beep.
But, I think a lot of it has to do with the internet. Because people, even with residential construction, people get on the internet and they're like, oh my God, I'm Bob Vila. Hey, you're not doing anything right, builder. I'm going to give you all this money, but I don't trust you. I just Googled brick problems, and I have all of them. Just like if I was a med student Googling a medical issue on WebMD, I'm dying of everything.
How do you know? How many guys do you know that look on WebMD and have diagnosed themselves with something that is preposterous?
Everybody I know.
Oh my God. Just got a hangnail.
Is she okay?
It's it. Cut the arm off.
Have you seen my finger? It's terminal.
No,
I will
she's
tell you
fine.
guys, you guys can say anything about your wives on this show because they don't listen.
Yeah, that's actually really fun. I told my wife that I read a whole series of text messages from her and I back and forth, and I was like, I may have done that on the podcast today. She's like, what? What conversation? And I started telling her, and she was like, meh.
Oh, I totally weaved
nobody's
it into
listening
the
to your
show.
podcast. Who cares?
I totally weaved it into the show. I was like, this is going to be great right in the beginning of the show. Jason talking about his wife.
Nice.
It was actually pretty good.
I will talk about my wife too. I love her so much.
So-
my God.
She's beautiful.
So Jason and I have talked a while ago about like how scheduling has changed. So much has changed in just a short amount of time. So when we all got into construction, maybe not in the Navy, I don't know what they did then, flags or some shit. But we talked about the fact that we used to have schedule builders. Like you guys probably all remember when Palm Pilots first came out,
Oh, yeah.
and they're like, "Don't even touch this thing. Don't break it. Don't leave it in your truck. This is high tech." And we're like, "What? It doesn't even
It costs
like
$100
Pac-Man."
million, and it straps to your wrist. And it's like this big.
So, and then you look at today when we're all walking around with pocket computers and everything
right.
else. Dude, it's crazy. But I know that there are some companies that are still operating, with, well, every company should be operating with a pad and paper, in my opinion. That's me. That's how I do business. But anyway,
I don't know how you don't.
but there's a lot of companies that they don't have the budgets or whatever to expend for technology.
No, I think Jake nailed it earlier. Technology's the biggest change over the last 15, 20 years.
So what were you using when you first got into construction?
Paper schedules. I actually had a BlackBerry.
Awesome. I think
But-
are they still in business?
Yeah, they're a thing.
BlackBerry? Hey, they could be a
It's all touch
sponsor.
I mean, they're not one of my things, but they're a thing.
But it really was. I mean, I got in the tail end of the old school construction with paper schedules. It was a 2-week projection every week. We'd send it out, and now it's like everything's online. The trades go online. They're just required to.
Was it a calendar view?
No. It was all the jobs, and then it would list your 2 weeks out at the top with all your phases, and you just write in your lot number or house number or address and what needs to happen on which day, and it would just trickle down, and all the managers would fill in their section and distribute it weekly.
Dennis and I ate the same dirt.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember doing that exact same scheduling.
And they would just fax it out to all the trades?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
facts.
remember that? Facts.
Email was a new thing back then.
Oh, too expensive.
You have a 5-man team, we'll give you one email address.
Yeah, you can all share it. It'll be you guys at such and such.
There was
site.
a job trailer. You had one phone for the entire construction team.
Oh, you were living large if you had a
And a
phone.
heater, no bathrooms,
Yeah.
porta johns.
I had a guy walk into a construction trailer that we set up recently for one of my CMs, and there's running water in it. And he walked out and he was like, "Who the hell's paying for that?"
And you're like,
"Come
lot
on."
2 until we build that house.
Yeah, and
Which lot is yours?
my CM was like, "I'm going to be here for 5 years." He's looking at me. He's like, "What? Can I
Yeah.
have running water?" And I was like, "Of course you can."
Yeah. He's like,
spoiled.
get some buckets in here and use that to force the shit down.
No.
I was like, just like at a restaurant.
Here's some
Wash,
Purell sanitizer.
rinse.
Good enough.
So
It's funny that you mentioned that, but truth is, my trailer is full of ladies, and they would like to be able to flush toilets and wash their hands and aren't okay with just rubbing dirt on it. So there's
We
that.
need to edit this section.
spoiled. Jason's spoiled is what I'm thinking.
Anything that gets questionable, just edit it out.
So let's. So let's.
You know what is actually a huge game changer? Talking about technology.
Talking into the mic?
BIM.
Is what?
BIM and things of that nature, where they can actually take a project
you sound
and they can completely, in layman's terms, animate it so that you can walk through it.
We can't act like we don't know what BIM is again.
No, we know
this is the second time
we
this
had
has
it, we had it
happened.
spelled out to us. We had a guest
I
on the
literally
show.
Googled it one time while a guy was telling us about it.
It's amazing. It's amazing
We had a guest
software.
on the show and he kept throwing out BIM, 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 and we're like, what
Damien's
is
going,
BIM? What's BIM? so I actually had a guy. So So I'm teaching it at FCC, at Frederick Community College, construction management, and I had another college reach out to me. I won't say their name because I'm still on their list until this airs. And they said, "Hey, we want you to teach a course on BIM. Are you okay with that?" And I said,
You're like, nope.
"I said, oh, okay, yeah. So you want me to teach a course on
What does it stand for again?
So
Do we even remember?
virtual reality, like graphics?" And they're like, "Yeah." Okay, are you comfortable with that? And I said, "I just told you everything I know about it."
Building,
And they're like,
isn't
"Oh."
it building information modeling?
Yes,
Building
it's
information
it's
modeling,
It's an
yeah.
amazing tool because you can construct a project virtually, and then you can see how the ductwork runs through it. You can see how all the framing members are, what's in conflict with what, so that when you actually build the project,
What are you
build the product.
He's saying talking to the mic.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah.
So when you
Jake just got in trouble with our
actually
producer.
build
100
it,
times better.
the producer is scolding me.
Yeah.
When you build it, you eliminate a lot of the conflicts. So it saves time and money.
Guys, it's
expensive.
building information modeling. I looked it up again.
Isn't that what did we say?
Building information modeling.
Oh, okay.
Good. Carry on.
Good. Nice job. Thanks for checking in.
Wow. This is really like an advanced type of
Anyway,
conversation.
so I was actually going to change the subject until you brought up BIM, and then we had a super intellectual conversation about it.
Yeah, where I looked it up again.
It was funny though. Our guest was like, he's like, oh, and I could just hear him thinking, these guys are dummies.
Stupid dummies.
Why am I?
Why am I doing this?
But you guys had the CEO of BillPro on here. That's an amazing leap forward for billing, for scheduling.
It is.
The subcontractors or trade partners can see their portion of it.
Yeah.
The builders themselves can see their portion.
And also
fantastic.
cataloging the information and being able to refer back to it later. I think that's probably one of the huge things. I mean, outside of construction management, budgeting for a similar type home, you can ballpark what it's going to cost you to build, and then start to tune it in as you get those actual costs. So.
Don't any of y'all worry about that though? Like a BillPro where that houses all of your information. Like, what if that crashes? Where's your data? Are you solely relying on one?
You're very dark, Dennis.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
you can go to Constructware. Constructware is another program that does that, but it also handles all of your submittals, all of your RFIs, all of your meeting minutes.
Nobody cares.
Everything.
They're not a sponsor of this show. Get that microphone away from me. So listen, I don't want to. This is not a show about technology. I mean, I guess kind of that was.
Well, how's the industry changed?
Yeah, it was a leading
change.
question.
I mean, it's the main thing that's changed, Damien.
Jason, you're
don't
supposed to have
steer
my
our
back.
thoughts.
You're supposed to have my back.
You told me that I was going to be able to think freely.
No. No one on this show thinks freely. Anyway.
You think according to the protocol.
Let's
the
talk
agenda?
about what's that?
where's the agenda?
That's it. I got it all right here. So listen. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, because obviously technology is huge. I mean, that has revolutionized the construction industry, right? And not only has it revolutionized the construction, the way we build, it's changed the personnel that I see on the job site, big time. Because when I first got into construction, it was a bunch of dudes cussing at everybody. And I loved it because I was just out of the Navy, and I was like, I know how to cuss.
You're like, yeah, fuck you.
Love confrontation.
God, this one's gonna get an explicit rating. Anyway,
Do we rate these? We don't. We don't care.
It hadn't been an option so far, but it looks like going forward, it's gonna be an E next to it, a big red E, and put Jake's name next to it. Anyway,
He's a loose cannon.
but so demographics. So I just have some statistics at you guys. We're at Vanish Brewery today, by the way, in case we didn't mention that earlier. So how many? What's the percentage of females do you think are in construction management?
Oh, not enough. I would guess.
Wow, that's a PC answer.
I would
Yeah,
guess.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
it was a great start. Not
3%.
enough.
What's your guess?
I would say less than 3%.
Wow,
That's funny.
65%.
Oh wow.
Is women?
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
I know. Staggering.
It's
Where- I
I
staggering.
said that before.
California?
It's no, but think about it like this: construction management is like a broad term. We're talking about all people involved in construction
so like
management of all
admins,
kinds. Think about looking across our regional office. I mean, when we're up there,
If you had a regional office.
yeah, if you have one, theoretically. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I was thinking more about
Why do
on-site
I
management.
always get
on-site.
why do I always get shit for calling it the regional office? It's the divisional office. I get it, but
I don't know what you're referring to. Because we don't work for a company. This is
In
what we
theory.
do.
In theory.
This is what we do. Podcast.
yeah. But the I mean, what?
Anyway. No, but here's the thing.
It's not a secret that we work, right?
Here's the
that's
thing.
That's not like
I don't work at all.
No logo shirt.
no logo
good.
shirt today,
That's for
sir.
sure.
Oh, that's good.
We look like an Under Armour.
You guys
ad
advertising
anyway.
for Under Armour?
Hey, seriously, Under Armour,
Hey,
if
I
you
don't
want to
know if
throw
you
us a
like
bone.
Jesus.
But-
Under Armour?
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna sponsor.
Where are you?
All right.
Black Rifle Coffee. we're in
Black
construction.
Rifle.
We drink coffee.
We're veterans. Except for this guy.
We have to
Sorry.
get up. We have to get. Sorry.
A
Sorry.
little blemishes on my record.
Yeah, there it is. Anyway, what the hell were we even talking about?
I don't know. Construction.
How construction's changed. You know what?
Oh, how construction's changed.
You know what has changed a lot in the last 20 years is the advantage that
Mike.
owners have.
Where's that microphone at? There it is.
There it is.
Owners have a huge advantage now because they can go online and they can check.
I like that you pulled that microphone closer to you and then you backed up.
It scares me.
Whoa.
I'm
close,
afraid of it.
dude. What is wrong with you?
What are you saying?
I'm saying owners have a huge advantage these days. They can go online. If a builder comes to them and a homeowner says, "Oh, there's white dust all over my brick." Well, we all know it's a naturally occurring phenomenon, effervescence from salt. But a homeowner can go online and be like, "Oh, effervescence."
Liar.
And they're gonna pull up, all the worst case scenarios, and it creates distrust, and it also creates owners that have a more I don't want to say entitled, but they feel like they are more empowered and they are less trusting of the builder.
Yeah,
well, I agree because it's the expectation is already set before the buyer gets to meet the team, so they already have a preconceived thoughts in their head about how things are supposed to be and how they're going to go down.
Right.
And then when it doesn't go that way, now the builder just has to fight to say, no, this is normal. What you're reading is the anomaly.
I think
it's true.
Yeah, you're 100% right with that. Instead of setting the expectation and explaining, hey, this is how the process works, they're immediately on the defensive. Like, no. What you read on,
I mean, when I first started,
build.com or whatever.
You would chase the homeowners off the job site. Literally. They would say, don't come back unless we call you to come out here. And now
I never did that.
That's the way it used to be,
I never did it.
I didn't personally, but I know I've heard stories. And
no, that's like old school mentality.
Say, you're coming out for specific meetings, and that's it. Outside of that, this is my house until I deliver it to you, and I don't care what you say.
And that is the case. But what we're all talking about here is customer experience.
Exactly. 100%.
I mean, so basically, like, my opinion about this whole thing is...
Wait, nobody's talking... who's talking about customer experience?
We are all talking about customer experience. All that information is out
Just
there.
kidding. Love
All of those potential problems are out there. They've always been the case. Nothing's changed. Salt coming through your brick is not something new. That's happened since the beginning of time, since you started making brick. The difference now is the knowledge that they have, the ability to... be involved in the process and all that stuff. And your ability as a construction manager to carry them through that process and to create a little bit of comfort in the fact that you're looking and you know what's going on and you speak well about it and you can help them through that process for the problems that they have. Some of them have 100 problems. Some of them only have one. And you see that all the time. Sometimes it's hard to find out what their hot button is.
It's funny. It's funny because we mentioned effervescence, and effervescence can go either way. Either it shows up naturally and a homeowner or a client says, I have this 10-story building and now it's got white clouds all over it.
You're welcome.
Whereas you might have another owner that's going to come out there and be like, I paid for this antique look. I want the white clouds. And you're like, well, you're going to have to pay for that, sir.
Right.
So it's like oil canning and metal trim. I'm like,
yeah, but
that's
it's all
oil
about
canning.
perception and what they expect. And if you don't have a
Right.
if you don't have a chance to find out what their expectations are and hit their hot spots up front, you're already fighting the whole way.
And that was my point about the customer experience. If you meet with them early in the process, like everybody does at a pre-construction type meeting, whatever you want to call it, and you set the expectation, hey, look, nothing's perfect. You're going to read lots of stuff on the internet. You're going to hear things from people that have built houses in and around this area. You might have built a new home before. That's a question I always ask at a pre-con. Have you built a new home before? What was your experience like? Great. I'm glad it was terrible because ours is going to be that much better. Like, literally just start that process at the beginning and set those expectations so that you don't run into as many of those problems. And look, there's a percentage of people that you're going to build for that are just going to have problems and there's nothing you can do about it. But give them good answers and explain how sincere you are.
I feel like we've gotten off the rails here.
Well, there's also social media.
Social media.
Well, I mean, why do you keep thinking we're off the rails? We're talking about technology. That's changed a lot.
Right.
We're talking about the influence that people have and their ability to get their own information. You don't need a home inspector to tell you what's wrong with your house. You can Google it and you can come up with things.
Yeah,
so you're saying
you're not laying brick differently than you did 30, 40, 50 years ago. The difference is that technology.
Well, so you're equating technology to the fact that one thing that's changed is that our customers are much more educated, or potentially educated.
There's another aspect to it. In commercial work, when you go and you interview for a job, you bring your build team. supposedly, when you interview for those jobs, the team you bring with you are the guys that are actually going to build it.
Right.
It's not always the case. But the guys that are doing the interview, they can look up everybody on your team. They can go to LinkedIn. They can go to Facebook.
Sure.
They can go to wherever and say, well, who are these guys really? Does he really have the experience that they're touting? I'm building a data center, and they're bringing this senior construction manager to me, and they're telling me he's got all the experience in the world. Well, let me look. Oh, last year he was building houses. That's not a data center.
True.
So, I'm going right back to the owners have an advantage.
Yeah.
They can look up the team members.
And look, that doesn't mean that you're at a disadvantage. Like,
right.
Don't get me wrong. There's lots of ways that you can poke holes in someone's system or whatever like that. But your ability to control the conversation and, like I said, create a little bit of certainty for them. Make them feel like you're looking at their home and that you care about it, because truthfully you do. I mean, there's not too many CMs around that really don't care, that make it very long.
No, I think a lot of them care, but it's just that effort to win them over up front. It's a bigger challenge than it ever used to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the expectations are different now than they've ever been. Like we've talked about this before, the Amazon era. You make a mistake ordering something, you admit that it's your fault. You put it in the mail free of charge, and they send you a brand new one, or they say, don't even send it back, I'll just send you another one. Right. Like that's hard to meet those expectations.
It is. Can I tell off the rails? Can I tell a real quick story about a job interview once?
I like off the rails stories. This is great.
So we go down to North Carolina. This group that I'm working with, we're trying to we're interviewing for a project, and they we get to their headquarters and like go into this room and we'll be in there in a minute and we'll interview you guys, and we're like great. So we go into the room and our lead guy, our VP, is like, you know what? Let's rearrange all the desks in the room, so that it's more of a conversation, like a big table, rather than like a boardroom where they're going to just grill us. So we're like, okay, that's a great idea. So we move all the tables around, and it's
this
is really
before your client gets in there.
Before our client got there, yeah.
Oh,
so we move all the tables
crazy.
around, and we're like,
crazy.
this is going to be great. It's going to be a conversation instead of whatever they had in mind, whatever they had in mind.
You're crazy.
Client opens the door, looks around the room,
Like you're fired.
put the tables back, and closes the door. And we're like, well, okay. Spoiler alert, we didn't get the job.
All right. We've all been in the business for a while. We've experienced, I don't want to call it the Stone Age, but we've experienced a very low-tech version of construction that I'm sure was high-tech if you go back another 40 years. But new people coming into the industry that want to be construction managers, I want to talk about what kind of advice and what you would tell them. So if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I'm looking to get into construction management, what kind of advice would you give them?
Stay off your phone. I've had so many assistants that live on their Twitter and Instagram and text message.
That's a time waster that you're talking.
It's a time waster.
You're just talking about wasting time.
But I mean, they want to learn. They're serious about it. Stay off the phone. It'll be there when
Later.
That's true.
Take lunch. Take
good
a break.
advice.
Here's the thing though. There are so many details that come out, and everything that we do is so detail oriented. And we're so litigious in this industry, and in the world in general these days. I don't want to get super political.
Mean?
But if the certain manufacturer's material isn't
Google it.
Ignoring Jason, isn't installed exactly per manufacturer recommendations, you can't hold them accountable for their product. I would have had to beat myself. But that's the thing. If you're constantly looking at Twitter and Instagram, unless you're subscribing to the Construction Management Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter and Facebook, that's okay during the job. Anyway, if you're not doing that,
but not even the specs and everything. I mean, when they're walking around head down, pasted to their phone, looking at conversations, look up. You just see what's going on the job site.
Right.
I can take a drive through the job site and not go in any house and know who's there and what they're doing on every single spot.
It's good.
And then you go see your assistant and you ask them the same question and be like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
But yeah, because you're walking around with your head down looking at your phone.
All right.
Just look.
I have two things
Look
to
at the
say about
community.
that. Number one, litigious. unreasonably prone to go to law to settle disputes.
Right. Okay.
You're just a rule follower, right? You're just going back to the
Me?
rules.
Super rule follower.
Well, I mean, if I don't remember how we got to this, but I'm just glad we cleared that up.
Thank God we cleared that up.
And the second thing is, and this is an actual thing, when you're learning this job without a phone, because I can vouch for that. Like I did that. We were issued a Nextel, which was what you joked about it being 40 years ago. They would say, "Oh, we didn't have the technology that you do." What they mean is like a cell phone, and yeah, that was a huge innovation in construction. Let's face it, we're on a job site. It makes sense to be able to call people, but you still had the issue that every ACM has when they first come into the business: blinders, and blinders are so much worse now. You go in, when I say blinders, this is something I mean.
What are you talking about?
You go in wanting to know if you got all of your trim installed, and you go into the house and you walk through it and you take a list of all your trim and you don't notice anything else in the house that needs to be done or missing, and there's a huge hole in the backyard and there's a door missing, and you write down 2 interior left-hand doors and 4 pieces of base, and you leave there with only the information you came for and nothing else. That's what I mean by blinders. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff going on. You could pick up 10 things that you need to do on the way to that house that you're looking at.
So along those lines, I walked through a house today with a guy that's got a lot of experience. We all know him. And he pointed out like 10 different things. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. But did not notice at first. And he was like, well, look at this, and look at that, and look at this. And I was like, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. Can we move on, please?
Right.
Like, I'm doing a horrible job. Thanks for pointing that out to me.
No, but it's perspective, because when the person I was with today walked into that house, he was looking at the whole thing.
George is flashing us, by the way.
He wasn't,
oh, yeah.
like
Flash.
Jason said, he wasn't looking at one thing specifically. He walked in with the idea that I'm looking at everything. And that's, that's what
well, that goes back to the basics. Like we talked about in our second podcast. Laying out your day and deciding how your day is going to go decides all the stuff that you're going to notice. Yeah. If you go in and you go to the house that needs the least stuff, that's the farthest out, and you work your way to the one that has the most detail and needs to deliver today, you're going to catch those things along the way, and you should be. And the ability to be able to write down the things between houses that needs done in the common areas and the silt fence and the erosion control stuff, like that's where you start taking it to the next level. It's hard as an ACM when you're being expected to wait for the inspector. Like if you're coming into this business, part of what you're going to do is carry your construction manager. I was always told if you make your boss look good, then you're doing a good job.
Coming to the construction industry on day one is, I would tell them, don't take the criticism personally.
That's true.
Because as well as, everybody at this table knows that, when you're in construction, you put a lot of effort and a lot of time into the products that you produce. Whether you're making widgets in a factory, you're building houses, or you're building high rises that touch the sky. You put a lot of your time and effort into it, and it takes a lot out of you. And then when you have an owner, or you have an inspector, or you have anyone
customer
that shows
boss,
up, customer
those
boss
people that are
shows up and just nitpicks it and picks it apart and says, these are all the things you're doing wrong. While they might have the best intentions in the world, trying to make you better at your job and show you the things that you've missed, it eats away at you.
Yeah, but that's not to argue.
I thought Jake was going to tear up there for a second.
Something they might need to learn over the course of their career.
Of course.
But you don't want the new guys coming in saying, "Oh, hey, he just gave me criticism. I'm not going to have to pay attention to it because my boss said don't take it personally."
Because I think all of us lived under the whole you're going to be fired.
What's important, what's not. So maybe let them sweat a little bit, and then they'll figure it out. But no, I agree. I agree what you're saying. But
honestly, I think they need to. They need to own it.
I agree, but we're living in the age of puppies and crayons and safe spaces. So you have to. You can't take it personally.
He's not wrong.
If somebody comes in and says, "Hey,
don't comply to it,"
you've been working on this stuff for months, but hey, dummy, there's a door that goes there and a window that goes there, and this shouldn't be a pond. This is actually an amphitheater.
You're right. You always have to let the the buyer, the customer, say, look, I'm going to work so hard on this for the next 4 months for you, and you're just going to get to come in at the end and beat me up on it. But it's okay. I'll take it. But you almost play that card with that customer, so they take it, not so serious. So when they do realize they have to fix something at the end, it's expected.
Yeah. So that goes to a big, it's a challenge in our industry that a lot of people don't want to get into construction because they think, so this is a world of safe spaces and puppies and
crayons.
I think crayons. Because construction has a reputation, and rainbows. Anyway, so what I was saying is, that's a real challenge for the industry because people don't want to get into construction because they feel like it's hard. It's tough,
right.
and
it's cold outside in the winter, and it's hot in the summer.
Well, the perception is that some of the people in construction are kind of roughnecks or tough to deal with, but the reality of it is, you could come across the meanest looking son of a bitch on the job site, and he'll be the nicest person, or she will be the nicest person you've ever met. Mm-hmm. So there's a stereotype when it comes to construction and the trades that we really need to break, so that people understand they can come into the trades and they're not necessarily going to need a safe space or a box of crayons or a puppy to play with at the end of the day.
All right, so we've talked about this before. I think that if you're in the production part of any industry, you're talking with the guys who, if you're responsible for creating whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. You're responsible for the guys who are like operating machinery and actually producing the product. And the people that are hands in it, they're going to be like tradesmen, and you're going to have to be able to deal with tradesmen. Mm-hmm. So my point is that those are the people that do the job, and they feel a certain way about doing that job, and you're going to have a hard time getting them to do their jobs on your watch. It doesn't matter if you're working in an assembly line in a factory, or if you're, printing newspapers, or you're working on cars, or you're doing anything. Those are the people that do it.
Can I stop you? Yeah. That is the first phone call you've gotten during any podcast. Who was that? Is that your wife?
No. It's Mom.
It was Todd.
Oh.
But no, I was going to say that's what were we talking about? Accountability. That's the problem. It's like,
hold that thought, because this is a momentous occasion. This is the first time Jason has gotten a phone call during our podcast.
You should have let him answer it then.
You should have answered it.
You want to call him back?
No. That's what Damien
share with
would have
everybody.
Done. He'd have been like, "What do you want, Ethan?" No,
Todd,
you can't have those
Todd,
pizzas.
Todd, you're live.
Yes, we can stop and get food when I get home.
You can't go out in a tornado.
Exactly.
All right. Our faithful podcasters will know what Jason and I are talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
These two have no idea.
What were you saying?
Sorry to interrupt.
Accountability. So that's what you're saying. Is you come from a world where there's people growing up with no accountability, and it's hard to hold people accountable. Yet, I totally lost my train of thought because of a fucking phone call.
Excellent.
You are 100% held accountable for the production.
It's good that we mixed this conversation with tons of beer.
It is. It's really
it's
responsible.
Best advice for a new person getting into this industry would be
Mike.
Ask questions.
Oh yeah, that's 100%. A good one.
Whenever I take over a new team, I always preface my first meeting with them, and I always say, "Listen, I ask a lot of questions because I don't know. It's easy to walk into a job site and make assumptions, but if I don't ask questions, I don't know what's really going on.
Right.
So don't take it personally." But I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Like, did you guys think it was important to put the roof on before you dug the foundation? I'm just asking.
I have a question for you. Are you purposely trying to ruin this by not speaking into that microphone?
I pushed
it's too close. It's too close.
I mean, all Dennis can do is
I'm trying. I'm trying to speak into
that's
it.
hard. That's hard to hear.
So I would say that anybody that is thinking about getting into construction management, they should drive out to a job site. So here's the thing. When I got into construction, I was in IT. Feels like a million years ago. Just satisfied because I couldn't see anything I was doing. It's all, ones and zeros. I drove out to a job site and I saw houses being built. And I was like, oh my, because what you're looking at really is monuments. Mm-hmm. Because if you build a community, and Jason and I have talked about this a million times.
Our stupid kids.
We drag our kids out to them and they don't care. But we care because every community you build or every whether it's commercial or residential or whatever, every structure that you have standing, that is a monument to the work that you built.
Right.
And, provided it lasts, your lifetime, you can always look back on it and say, I built that. I did that.
That is why the construction industry is so rewarding.
Sure.
A banker sits at a desk
so
and he moves paper from one end to the other, or, emails come in and emails go out. But when you're in the construction industry, you can go back 10 years, 20 years later and see the fruits of your labor. So it's super rewarding.
Well, we were talking earlier about...
just nobody cares about it but you.
Right.
That's the hard part for us.
I do that all the time. Drive through. Hey,
I
wife,
know.
I built that, and I built that.
Exactly.
Just like, whatever. Just get me whatever.
She's like, drive faster. No one
She's
cares.
like, yeah.
less stops.
I'm hungry, and no, I don't want to choose where we're going to eat.
Got to go to the bathroom.
You choose. I don't care.
And then the next answer, no, I don't like
But think about it, though. When we look back on history, predominantly, it's about, they're talking about this cathedral or this, mausoleum or this castle or whatever. Anytime you look at history, it's always about the architecture and what happened then. So I don't want to say that the things that I built are going to last, for 1,000 years. But I'm just saying they probably are.
I'm just waiting for the moment where somebody asks me to build something that anyone will talk about 200 years from now, like what you're describing. Like, have you ever built like a mausoleum before?
Well, you know
Jake, shut his microphone off.
You
Shut
know
his
what?
microphone
You know
off
what?
right now.
Did you know what? The guys
You know
who
what?
built
You know what I did?
the Washington Monument probably thought the same thing, but to this day, it's still the tallest freestanding full masonry building that's ever been produced.
But maybe it's not even
that's
like,
the Washington
That is true.
Monument.
But maybe it doesn't seem
Full
longevity, but maybe just changing architecture, new architecture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
that's true.
You hit a point where you get away from the bland homes or whatever you're building, and then you see something new. Maybe it's not going to last 200,000 years or whatever,
Right.
but you would say, hey, this house, this person marked the change of a new architecture.
True.
It's just as rewarding, I think.
Definitely. No, definitely.
So back to like the whole thing about being new in this industry. Get what you can get. Learn as fast as you can learn. Ask lots of questions. Take lots of notes. Appreciate it when you're building something like a community for a whole bunch of families, like so that you can look back on it and enjoy it, because it's. That's what you're doing for a living, man. That is your legacy on some level, and you got to be proud of it. You got to take it, take it to heart. You can't just do it and go home at the end of each day. The guys that do it and go home each day, they don't feel about it like we do, I don't think, right?
No.
Well, it's the difference between competent people and incompetent.
When you lose sleep over your job, that's the difference.
And you're
Right.
doing something.
Right.
You're building an ulcer.
Knocking those years off.
I'm going to
They're
die
the
at
worst
62.
years, right? They're the worst years.
I am doing myself a favor. I'm dying early.
But I mean, that was a very politically correct way to say what you said. I mean, it's true. It's true. It is. You earned that.
All right. So let's talk about the greatest website ever created. That's buildertactics.com.
It's pretty great, man.
It is
You know what I
amazing.
think is great
I'm going to
about it?
subscribe any day now.
What's great about it,
Is
Jake?
that
This
you
better be
can,
good.
if you're fresh to the industry, you can go there and you can get a glimpse inside the industry.
buildertactics.com all day.
All day.
You're talking about Advantage Brewery.
Hey, all right, so we've got buildertactics.com. We've got the YouTube channel. So this podcast will be exclusive. Well, all right, thank you. Keep listening to the podcast. I'm sure this was a disaster. This will be on YouTube, and
I'm so glad.
they'll probably throw us off YouTube. All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
thank you for
guys,
having us.
Thanks for coming out and joining us. This is the first in a series.
Thanks for the free beer. That's why we came.
Right.
Whoa. Free.
And we're going to need separate.
Nobody said that. Separate text.
All right. Thanks so much.